Welcome to Evolve Edutainment. If you have any doubts on your learning capacity, this video is for you. Keep watching till the end. Every student struggles in some variants. For some, studying or learning is so difficult, for some a little difficult, and very few can say that studying or learning is not a problem for me at all. But those are just the 5% of the community. But what about 95%? Why is it so difficult to study or to learn? Why there is a struggling? Let me do some quick analysis by asking few questions. My first question is, do we struggle because of our brain's capacity of learning? Do we run out of the space or something? Here is what you think you can learn in a year. And this is your actual capacity to learn. Yes, this human brain can learn 4.5 billion books and retain it. That's what I meant. Human brains can learn and retain 4.5 billion books. So at least brain's capacity to learn is not the problem. So what could be the problem? So let me ask the question number 2. Is the knowledge not available? Let me think. Knowledge is available. We all have schools, institutions, colleges, online education, Google, YouTube. Even we have the knowledge readily available more than ever. Whatever question you ask, maybe it could be thermodynamics or trigonometry or calculus, ask the question and you have the answers on your fingertips. So at least knowledge is available, and at least this is not a problem. So what could be the problem? Let me ask my third question. Is it because you do not want to get good results? Is it because you do not want to succeed? Of course not. Everyone wants to be successful. Everyone wants good results. You also want it. So let me compile this data. We have incredible capacity to learn. The knowledge is readily available and you want to be successful. So what could be the problem then? The answer is really simple. No one teaches how to learn. Yes, learning is a skill. Memorizing is a skill. Concentration is a skill. Handling the exam pressure is a skill. Active learning is a skill. Active listening is a skill. Class participation is a skill. Speaking is a skill. All these are skills, and there are specific techniques using which you can learn these skills. And our education system doesn't teach these skills to us in schools or colleges or institutions. No one teaches. Everyone teaches what to learn. Our education system was designed hundreds of years ago to support the industrial marketplace. It was designed to help us find a job. That's what they do. They teach us maths, science, English, computer science, computer programming. Let me give you my example. But before that, if you're new here, consider subscribing because a lot of edutainment is going on here. The problem is, learning or studying is a skill and our education system doesn't teach us how to learn. You can consider an example of driving a car. You do not know how to drive a car from birth, right? You learn it. Same way you can learn how to learn. Now you may also ask me, if learning is a skill and no one is teaching us how to learn, how you have been studying so far? I have 2 reasons for this one. The first reason is it's because of our human intelligence. Humans are adaptation machines. We adapt to the environment. We learn even if we are not taught how to learn, we learn it anyway. Just like driving a car. If you are given a car and no one teaches you how to drive, you keep trying to drive and eventually, after some time, after a lot of struggling, you learn to drive. Sooner or later, you will learn how to drive. But it will be really easier if someone sits by your side and teach you how to drive the car. You will save your time, you will save your energy. Same way, if someone can teach you how to learn, how to memorize, how to concentrate, how to handle your exam pressure, it will be really easier for you to study. You will save a lot of time, especially today when you have a lot of competition and the time is really limited. Wouldn't it be like a superpower, like you'll be able to learn same amount of information in less time? And my second reason is everyone is unique. Every student learns in their own way. In fact, there are 5 learning styles. I didn't know until I graduated and started to learn cognitive psychology and learning skills that I was a kinesthetic learner. In my grade 4, I studied for 3 years. They sent me back in the same grade to study for 3 years. And they thought that I was a slow learner. I couldn't speak. They thought that I was a slow learner. But I was a kinesthetic learner. And I didn't follow the tutors. I couldn't understand them. A kinesthetic learner has to be involved or to do something to learn it. Just listening is not enough for the kinesthetic learners. They have to be involved. A kinesthetic learner cannot sit at a place for a long time. They need frequent short breaks. If you make them sit for a long time at a place, they will zone out. So learning is a 5-step process. I can better explain this to you with the help of a story. There was a king, and he had 3 sons. All his 3 sons used to fight with each other that who will become the king. So one day the king decided that he will divide his kingdom in 3 equal parts. And then he told them that when they build a castle of their own, they will be declared a king of their own territory. So the quest began. The 3 sons started to think how are they going to build their castles. The first son was in a little hurry. He couldn't wait to become a king. So he was trying to find out the easiest and the quickest way of building his castle. One day he saw a pot maker making pots using the clay and his equipments. So then and there he decided that he will make his castle out of clay. Very next day he gathered all the pot makers from his territory and he asked them to build a castle of clay for him. Within no time, the pot makers were able to make a big castle of clay for the king. The second son was still to decide how he was going to make his castle. One day he saw a carpenter making a wooden house. He was really impressed with his artistic abilities. So he ordered the carpenter to build a castle for him from woods. Next day, the carpenter gathered all the carpenters from the territory and they built him a big wooden castle. The third son was not satisfied with the work of his brothers. He was still thinking how he was going to make his castle. He was a wise man. First of all, he was planning about the construction site. He was worried about the foundation because he knew that he was going to make a very big castle, strong castle. So he needed a very strong foundation. So first of all, he chose a construction site on the hilltop. He knew that hilltop was not easily accessible for everyone. So he chose that as a construction site. And then he built a very strong foundation that could support his big, strong structure of his castle. And then he started to plan and organize the resources he had. He wanted to optimize the time and resources. So after his blueprint was ready, after he organized and planned his castle, the third step was to collect the building materials. He traveled far distant places to collect the best building materials for his castle. He knew really well that the construction materials are really important. So he made tremendous efforts to gather the best quality construction materials for his castle. The fourth step was to start building the castle. The masons and the workers worked day in and day out for years to build a strong castle for him. And in the fifth and final step, he tested the walls of the castle. He tested the walls of the castles with the use of cannons and trebuchet. He was only satisfied then when the cannons and the trebuchet couldn't make any harm to the walls of the castle. Few days later, they found out that there was a king who, in the quest of new land, is going to attack the three brothers. In the very first attack of the king, the castle made of clay fell apart. It was destroyed, and the first brother had no choice but to run away and save his life. When the king attacked the castle of the second brother, though the castle was strong enough, but there were loopholes. They burned the castle because the castle was made of wood. So they burned the castle. The second brother had no choice but to run away and save his life. When the king went to attack the castle of the third brother, he couldn't do any harm. There was no harm on the walls of the castle from their weapons. They couldn't do anything. In fact, the third brother was safe enough and his army defeated the king within no time. So you must be wondering, why did I mention building a castle while I was talking about learning? Just like building a castle, learning is a 5-step process. When I said the third brother started with a strong foundation, the strong foundation in learning are your habits, your rituals, your goals, motivation, your right attitude, your self-awareness. These act as your foundation. Once your foundation is strong, you can organize and plan your time and your resources. Because time is limited. And if you can organize and plan your time and resources like your bag, your study material, your books, or your study space, you'll be able to do much efficient work. The third step was to start collecting the information. How you can collect information as a student. As a student, you can collect the best quality materials by active listening, active reading, class participation, or note-taking. During the class, you can collect a lot of good information that could be useful for your exams. The fourth step was to start building the castle. As a student, to start building your castle of learning, you will need concentration, memorizing skills. You will need to know your learning style. Number 5, the threats to your castle. As a student, the threats to the castle of your learning are exams. When you know how to knock out the exams, that's the best thing you can do. When the walls of the castle of your learning are strong enough, the threat of exams cannot do any harm. So friends, learning is just like building a strong castle. First of all, you need to have a strong foundation. Number 2, you need to organize and plan your time and resources. Number 3, gather good quality materials. Number 4, start building. And number 5, learn how to knock the exam. So friends, if you're new here, please consider subscribing. Press that bell icon so that you receive notifications every time I post the videos. Hit the like button. I'll see you next time and keep learning.